What's going on there, guys? Good afternoon. It's the Earthmaster here on this beautiful Thursday, July 21st, 2022 day. It's about 1:17 p.m. here California time. Latest quake shows a 1.8 here in the area of Southern California. Texas area ramping up pretty good as well. Looks like they've seen a 4.7 earthquake overnight. This area has been somewhat quiet in terms of earthquake activity, but that kind of ramped up in a big way. Before we jump into the earthquake activity, kind of want to talk about some solar weather movement, or uptick, I should say, looking at a whole bunch of active conditions here over the next few nights from a couple different areas of the sun. A lot of this red that we're seeing right here is a G1 class storm over the next few days, next few nights. We are already looking at that G1 storm kicking up into the KP index of 5 currently. I expect that to continue off and on here over the next few days, as noted, due from a coronal hole that had been facing us for a few days. We also had some activity directly towards the Earth area from a flare that popped off. Going to be one of these flares down here. 3060, I believe, is this guy right here. Let me see if I can find. Yep, 3059. Okay, I believe this is the one that popped off. A pretty good C flare, long duration C flare yesterday. We noted that on the live stream. Seen that thing kick up pretty nicely. Looks like we are going to be getting a blow of a glancing blow, or it could be a dead hit. Let's see, the faint full halo coronal mass ejection observed early Thursday following an eruption near center disk has been modeled. Let's see, the forecast is calling for a passage past Earth by late on Friday, July 22nd, and into Saturday morning. The solar wind speed is predicted to be quite high, near 800 kms. That's pretty significant there. This could jolt our geomagnetic field to the tune of at least a minor G1 to a moderate G2. Storm conditions at higher latitude, so watch for that. If we get G2 conditions there, we could see this bounce down into the upper tier states. Good possibility. Here is the coronal mass ejection, which kicked off on Thursday. At least this is one of them. We've had a couple of them. So the sun's kind of going through these little stages right now, being quiet and then kicking up quite a bit of activity. Here's some info from the spaceweather.com site, talking about the activity. There's that movement right there that was centered directly at us. That's going to be kicking up here late Friday, which could spark up the G2 class storms. So yeah, getting pretty active in this department. Let me see what we got here. Let me go to the detailed forecast and see what these guys are expecting. I believe the arrival here of that Earth-directed CME is going to be within this time frame here, 18 to 24 UTC time on the July 22nd area. Also stretching over into the Saturday morning time frame there on the 23rd. Again, this could get a little bit higher in terms of the storming. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Either way, 800 kms there is pretty significant. Looking at the live data coming in here, there's that elevated activity we're looking for in the density. Looks like the speed's kicking up as well. The temp, all that kind of ringing the magnetic field a little bit, creating these G1 class conditions. This activity is from that coronal hole that was facing us here, that large one. It's kind of now going away from us. Looking at the current sunspot activity is very minimal. We're not expecting any type of large flaring. But when these C flares pop off here, long duration C flares, and they're Earth directed, such as that one we've seen here from 3059. That it definitely plays a good. Let's see here. Maybe it's 3060 here. These guys are showing 3060. Let's take a look here at 3060. So maybe it was this guy. It doesn't look super dynamic, but then again, it doesn't take a whole lot to get these things sparking. I wonder if they got that right. 3060? I thought it was 3059 here. Let's see what the space weather is talking. Okay, yeah, 3060. AR 3060 exploded during the early morning hours. And a solar tsunami. Either way, this is definitely Earth erected, pointing right at us. Again, these things don't have to be super large flares to create an event here on Earth. It just got to be Earth directed. If we had a super large flare and a Earth directed large CME, that could be a pretty hard hit to the magnetic field. One of those where they called kill shots, you know, that they're always talking about. Last one, the Carrington event, last major one. Eventually, we will go through that again. Just a matter of if and when. You know, got to be. I shouldn't say luck of the draw, but got to be at the right place at the right time, or in this case, wrong place at the wrong time. So yeah, things kind of kicking up here on the solar level. Looking at earthquake activity, I want to check out the movement here in Texas, where it's getting pretty active out there around the Pecos, Texas area. They did see, as I mentioned earlier, a 4.7 earthquake here within this region. That's it's getting up there in terms of magnitudes. It was at looks like about 5.8 kilometers below the surface here. Pecos, Texas, it's down here to the southeast a little bit. This is in a zone, in a field, in an area. Let's go back to the satellite here, where there's been quite a bit of, I know a lot of people hear this all the time, but there's been a lot of injection wells, wastewater injection process out here from the oil rigs and the oil pumping operations here. This swarm of activity is occurring just to the west over here a little bit, just by about 2 miles. But it looks as though, looking at the scars and the features on the Earth, that there may have been some older ones outside of this zone that we're noting here on the satellite. And there's hundreds of them out there throughout this area, Texas, and thousands of them if you look, in other areas, quite a bit. It's all these little square boxes with little ponds and whatnot, you know, sucking up some resources there out of the ground and injecting some wastewater with that whole process. But either way, 4.7, pretty somewhat of a large quake. I want to go back here last 30 days and check out 4.5. This is about the largest quake here in this area over the last 30 days. Not for sure the largest ones they've had here. We can go 4.5. We'll go back the past year and check out the area of Pecos, Texas. Kind of curious to see. I think they may have had a 5 out here at one point. Let's pull up this area right about here to right about there. That covers a good portion of the Pecos, Texas area, and we'll see what pops up here on 0 results. Hold on a second here. What did I do wrong? 4.5 plus minimum. I know they had a let's go 4.0. Let's see what they got. So looks like some of these magnitudes may have gotten dropped down a little bit, because these guys aren't showing anything above 4.5, at least in the catalog here over the last year. So technically, looking at this, let's see here, let's back out of here, modify search a little bit. I want to go back, we'll just go for fun, we'll go back 10 years and see what we got for this area. It's going to be 4.0 and above. Not a lot, really. What'd they do here? Oh yeah, it looks like there was a 5.0 in the mix back in 2020. I knew there was a larger one at one point, but it's been a couple years, it looks like. But a 4.7 is looks like it's the largest one to hit this area of Texas since that 2020 earthquake there of the 5.0 magnitude level. So little on the active side there for sure in Texas. Aftershock activity has been going along with that activity as well. As always, there's always a possibility of seeing something much larger with these swarms and whatnot here. And I'm sure that's going to eventually spread across all of Texas, where a lot of the pumping operations are. Oklahoma already sees quite a bunch. This is very minimal for Oklahoma up here. A lot of times we see swarms up here in the Waukita Trend and oil and gas fields. This whole area up here has a lot of oil fields out here, which of course does a little bit of damage right down below the surface. Not going to go into the whole process, but eventually these quakes will get larger and be more frequent throughout this area of the states. A lot of pressure out here. When you get the pressure, we tend to see those quakes popping down there. A little bit of movement in the New Madrid zone, Tennessee and Missouri area. 1.7, the largest so far in that cluster. Nothing going on out there in South Carolina today. Looks like things kind of backing off a little bit there for as far as that swarming goes around the Elgin, South Carolina region. Western portion of the states here in California, pretty active from about north to south there, all the way up to Northern California. Got some activity near the Petrolia region, the 2.0, and of course activity very consistent there with the Calpine hydrothermal operations up there in the Cobb Mountain region. One earthquake off the San Andreas Fault near Bodega Bay. Looks like a 1.7 at 9 kilometers. Haven't seen a whole lot of large-scale movement within this little segment here of the San Andreas Fault. Not for sure what the slip rate is here within this region, but been somewhat quiet here within this area. It is a major plate boundary, so I'm sure it's bound to see some movement eventually. Ridgecrest area, a little spotty activity it looks like down through that region. A little activity in the Garlock Fault shear zone as well. A couple small microquakes over the last 24 hours. Some movement up and down the San Jacinto Fault zone here. And not a whole lot going on here around the southern segment of the San Andreas Fault for now. One earthquake here around the San Diego area, 1.0, very small earthquake out there. Into the Intermountain West regions and the Great Basin, some activity throughout Nevada and also Utah area. Getting some swarming up here around the Salt Lake City area. This area did see a upper 5, I believe, back in 2019, if I remember right. Somewhere within this region. So aftershock activity continues in that area. A little bit more movement around Mount St. Helens today. Looking at quite a few microquakes. We'll check out the recorded seismograph here in just a little bit. One earthquake off the Seattle fault zone. This one here is the one the folks in Seattle need to worry about. This one here could easily produce a moderate 7 magnitude earthquake. Definitely goes right underneath the city of Seattle, and that could definitely wreak havoc up there for the folks in the Seattle area. But today, just a 1.0 in that region. Up through Alaska, some activity along the looks like towards the end of the Aleutian Trench, including a 4.7. But I think this 4.7 is way over here, just at the end, off the coast of Russia. Not a whole lot going on throughout the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench or the Philippine areas. 4.9 looks like the latest quake in the Japan region. Some spotty activity here throughout the rest of the world, through Indonesia, Vanuatu, and also down along the Kermadec Trench. 4.9 No further large-scale deep movement noted yet in the Fiji Islands area. Rest of the world here, one earthquake in the Middle East, or in the Mediterranean region. Actually, this is in Turkey, it looks like, a 4.3 north of the Mediterranean Sea. Biga, Turkey, 4.3 at 18 kilometers. The Atlantic Ocean has gone quiet once again. South America area, one earthquake way down here off the coast of Chile on the plate boundary of the South American Cocoa Plate, the Nazca Plate, excuse me. Let's see what we got for the Puerto Rico area. Things just kind of look very typical there. The latest quake, though, shows a 3.4 into the Puerto Rico Trench area, 13 kilometers deep. Let's check out the tremor map from last night. Things calming down a little bit. Only 20 epicenters here along the Cascadia subduction zone in that area. We'll go ahead and check out the Webby quarter here from the Mount St. Helens area. See what we got for seismic activity. There's a couple of those quakes noted on the PNSN network. A couple very small microquakes. Very, very, very small. Here's the seismogram viewer, recorded data, the raw live data, so to speak. Anyone can check this out. There's some S waves coming in from somewhere. Let's see, where was that? I believe that was the, hold on a second here. 5.9, I believe, is what that's picking up there in the Myanmar area. That one kicking up here a little bit ago at 1707. It takes a little while for those S waves to get here, but it looks like that is some of the S waves from that 5.9 over there across the globe. Some of these earthquakes, very small. There's quite a few of them. These earthquakes here, they kind of look like earthquakes, but also at the same time, they look a little bit distant from this seismograph station here. They're not very localized, again, to this seismogram. Localized earthquake activity is going to be very sharp and distinct. And these kind of look like earthquakes, but at a little distance. Not for sure exactly where these are taking place at. But definitely a handful of microquakes there throughout the morning and overnight timestamp. Looking at the previous day, about the same. Getting in on quite a few little microquakes there. In the region of Mount St. Helens. Let's see what else we got here. Yellowstone National Park. Not a whole lot going on throughout this area. Things just kind of a beautiful day up there in Wyoming. Still getting quite a bit of interference on this station here, but don't worry, that's not any type of movement. Just an error on the digital seismogram viewer. No activity to report across the region as far as earthquake activity goes. Looks pretty calm at the Yellowstone supervolcano. Let's see what else we got here, folks. Really no major changes noted here across the board on the volcanoes. All looks about the same as they have been. Kilauea still in their active phase. No major adjustments going on down there along the Big Island chain. All right, guys. Another hot one here in California today. It's supposed to be, I think, 107 or 108 pretty much over the next 10 days or more. Could get even hotter as we head towards the, next week time frame, looking at maybe 110 or hotter. The high-pressure dome is supposed to shift a little bit. It's been over here around the Rockies area, that will be shifting west and parking right over the west coast, which is going to cook us and really bake us out here. I'm not looking forward to that at all. There's a bunch of aftershocks there following that 5.9 this morning there in the Myanmar area. Definitely consistent there with that type of movement. Getting a cluster here, according to the EMSC on this globe. the southwestern edge of the Philippine plate. Dynamically set down here. It looks like we're starting to get some deep movement in the Indonesia area as well. So watch this area as we're starting to see a little clutter of quakes there. All right, guys, have a good day. We'll chat to you a little bit later on tonight. I got a pretty busy day. Got a writing assignment I got to do for my class. Last day of class today for my summer courses. Gonna write my writing assignment on the ancient city of Pompeii. Right? Pretty cool. I think all of us know about that. Some awesome archaeological finds. Not good for the folks that lived during that time, but it's definitely a very interesting topic that I like to study, and that's kind of what I chose for my writing assignment here for the anthropology class. For the final day of school, got a little break until I start up my fall classes here in the end of August, so I'm going to be pretty busy here working on geology, archaeology, anthropology, weather. Going to be taking quite a few classes here come the fall time frame. But we'll still be here with the updates, that's for sure. You can count on that. So we'll chat at you guys a little bit later tonight with the Thursday night update. Stay safe, everyone.